This is a tool that would have been used from every rank in the feudal system, from samurai to foot soldiers to ninja to gardeners to commoners. This was the all-appropriate tool. If you were traveling, you could get through awkward terrain. If you needed to tie stuff up in trees to keep it out of the way of animals. If you needed to drop it across the ground to take out traps. And with how many footage you would have used, you could be setting your own traps with such a tool. Also, by carrying such a tool, that you would have the ability to capture, tie someone up, tie something up. This amount of rope makes it it's just an all-functioning tool. Not as good as a bow shuriken, but it's really tough to be compared to a bow shuriken. But with all the tools that are used for that, or the tool uses that can be used with this, adding a chain, I'm not making a pun there, I do have to do it, changes it. I'm going to stick to weapons. Which now, the blades aren't going to cut this, which means that's going to distribute force. And this, I was working with the Oni staff, parentheses, the Oni staff, this idea of a giant club that opens up the samurai for other guards to come in and take advantage of those openings. This tool would fall into that just the same, as it's a meteor hammer, as it's flying through the air, and it would be easy to get caught on different aspects of the armor. The yoroi has the shoulder flaps, I'm thinking, getting into the dough, getting anywhere into this space. And if it's upward, sideward, whichever way you want to come, there's different parts for this to get captured onto an opponent. And just like the rope, having that amount of chain and treating it like a kusurigama now, that you'd be using this, and if you had another weight on the other side, that makes quite the defense. And if they were to come in onto this tool, now it's small, sure, but if you've got nothing else and you have become comfortable with using this tool, yeah, why not? It makes it an effective tool that becomes a fighting tool. But because it's a tool with a slight change can be leveraged into something else, well, why not become something else entirely? Now, full disclosure, this is from an old black and white ninja movie where the antagonist is all dressed in white and he uses a grappling hook that's edged. I thought that was the coolest thing ever. So I made this. Now this would definitely work as a grappling hook, but you just wouldn't get a lot of force to climb when you do that test pull. That should look after everything. What I want to point out on this one seems to be the one grappling hook I got correctly when I made all of these grappling hooks. Thank you, old black and white movie. It's this aspect that I want to talk about. The hole here in what I'm going to call the tang. With the ones that I've made, though I have found historical record of ones that look just like this. Doesn't mean they're right, and I don't know what purpose that they were used for, because the ones that I've been finding, have this ring. And so far what I can understand is that ring allows for the proper use of the teeth to grab in, to have additional force. I don't get it. The physics of that, I don't get, but there's a lot of things I don't get, so that's cool. What I'm going to do is next time I'm going to make new ones of these and make the ring going out the top to do an actual test. Before I do that, my question of construction, as I'm trying to get more to historically accurate, because the closer I can get to historically accurate forging, the items they look more appropriate because they're being shaped appropriate. This one I've cut a large block and I cut it down and then I open these up and then shape them. Japan. In France, they have a very similar style hook as the Japanese do, and they're bound with 4 individual pieces, or however many tines, individual pieces, that they then forge weld this, drill a hole, and make the loop. My assumption is going to be that it's going to be similar in Japan, because the cutting is going to take a long time, and historically, you're going to be using that with a chisel. And I have no interest in cutting this with a chisel. I have no interest in cutting this with my hacksaw. I use whatever those things called, an angle grinder to cut the majority of the way, which leaves just like a little bloop in the center, which then I take the hacksaw and I'll remove that before it's bent over. And that makes for easy forging, what I'm trying to show you there is, here's where I've made the mistake. This means I've cut in and I slightly changed angle. And I can deal with that kind of mistake. But with that said, if I did them all individually, I wouldn't make that mistake. I could get these to whatever shape I wanted, forge weld this together, which would then bring down the tang. So I've got some questions. I've got some things to work on to test the new variety of the kajinawa. Moving past, there is at least one modern school I know of, which means there's definitely some old schools, because why wouldn't you? If you had the tools, you're going to have kata evolved with the tools. And one of which that they used a larger, I'd say it's more like a pirate style grappling hook, as if it were to hold a ship in place. The tines were larger and bent back more. And they did a hand-to-hand, because it gave you that kubotan style. You have on both sides, no matter which direction. And I feel like a jute or a shuko, you have that ability to catch a sword. Terrifying and stupid with this tool. But if you had to, and I think I still have to make the statement, as long as you're in that direction, anywhere else, you're screwed. So as long as you are as low down as possible, you got a small chance of not having something removed from your body. But possible having this as hand-to-hand. What I like about it, I like the rope version. The chain's cool, but the rope version gives me that, I guess, the quietness. I like that this can be bound. I like that I can use this for so many other techniques. But for climbing, for setting off traps, for hand-to-hand as a meteor hammer, it's fabulous. I think it's really fabulous for me because it does have that iconic ninja feel, being the small rope. As their ropes would have, if it was on cotton or hemp, it would have been twisted or braided. I don't do the twisted ropes because I'm terrible at them. I'm not too sure what type of mechanism that they use, but the mechanism that I built to make rope made it really tight on one end and really loose on the other end, and complete nonsense in between. I have some more research to do. But when it comes to braiding, that I get. So I start off with little bits of cotton. It's foundation cotton, which is meant for running like construction lines. And it's really strong. And by having 3 of them, not only do I get a good strength of rope, it's small. And it's that being small that I really enjoy. I feel more, it's historically accurate. 2, it doesn't have the twist. The twist ropes always, they get strength by being twisted. And it keeps that memory. Now with that ranting to the side, it's that kusurigama, right? No matter which way you hold it, you've got, well, left or right, which way you hold it. If I take that as the bladed end and now use this as my weighted end, and I'm inviting them in, wanting to strike or capture that weaponry, I've got this to then interact, whether I throw this at them or then try to capture with it. And on speaking of throwing it at them, switching hands, there's building up your centrifugal force, which would allow you to, I'm going to say lob it at them, because it's not going to be a straight throw, because it's centrifugal force. But holding all of this in your hand like a bow shuriken, you can throw this device. I think it would be a really great way to get people to move. Sure, it would be uncomfortable to take that in the face, but more accurately, everyone's going to see that coming. So as long as you have an attack backed up with that, my reference being there is some Boshiriken schools that when they're in their Jodan no Kamae, they go to step forward and this hand releases because it's holding a Boshiriken, and that is their attack. So in other cases, they'll cut in short to get them to move back to then attack with their Boshiriken. That has the same sort of secret ability with this because, again, it is a modern tool. It is meant for multiple purposes. You could use it for fighting. Firefighters could have used this for taking down buildings, as long as they had the chain. I really like this tool. But then I really like all the tools, so that's nothing surprising. With all that said, you'd have different numbers of hooks. Some would have just been a single hook variety. This is one that replicates a climbing tool, but I think it needs fixed too. The point being hooks and just the art of having the hook as a defensive tool. And of course, within all of this, I feel it just has to be stated, no matter what you have, you can use it as a fighting tool. If you've got nothing And this is now all that you have. If you are practicing an art of you are going to win, that you have this understood, it really doesn't matter what you have. You'll find a way to make it work. Now, with all of that said, yeah, I need to get back to the forge and start, forging it. How do you word that? I'm ripping it all apart and starting again. So the bow, not the bow shed again, the Bowie knife is on pause currently because the fire I have is not going to give the best chance of a homo. And I want a really nice homo. So with all of that said, I'm shutting up and getting back to work.